ahead and get right on into draft. Shen Kiana hitting the band board. And SYNCUniverse, kind of the crowd favorite with the TLS if you're kind of just joining us for the first time. They have Le Chifus, the famous Frenchman on their side, who is a crowd favorite within the TLS. And then Team X Tempo, who has been making a name for themselves, has done really, really well. In the majority of their series so far, it's been really fun to see them play, and so excited to see what both these teams will bring to this matchup. Obviously, TXT, they would like to put a loss on SYNCUniverse's record and, you know, drag them back down to earth a little bit, but that is always easier said than done. So we're going to go ahead and get this bad boy started. Give me just a minute. I'm going to handle things in the prediction in the chat. So we'll get that prediction going for you guys. TXT, there we go. We'll get that prediction started for you guys. All right, so SYNCUniverse, they're going to go ahead and grab themselves that Aphelios. You have Mad Echo. I wonder what that might be from. Oh, I know exactly what it is. I need to turn off the mic setting real quick. Sorry, guys, we're going to get this streamer thing fixed, as I know exactly what's going on. As we're going to just disable that. Whoops. So my camera had its microphone on as well. We got that fixed. Some production woes, but we'll get through it. Sorry about that. All right. All right, let's get right back in the draft. So Aphelios Braum going to be that bot lane pickup for the side of SYNCUniverse and TXT. They're going to grab the Ashe and the Mbessa. No Seraphine yet paired with that Ashe, though I expect to see that one or maybe another Enchanter along with that. Nami would be a really, really good pairing with the Ashe. Karma is not a champion that we see a lot drafted with Ashe, but it is something that TXT could go ahead and grab if they wanted to give themselves a little bit of dueling power within the bot lane. Just a second, just making sure everything's still set production wise. This is a one-man show right now. And yeah, there's going to be the Karma for TXT. They wanted to give themselves a little bit more dueling power. It makes sense. It gives you plenty of extra push. If you don't want to go with the Seraphine, I think it's a great champion to pick up, and that support role just makes a lot of sense. It also helps them against Aphelios and Braum, just making sure that they're able to win that 2v2, especially since Braum has such an aggressive passive in the early game, being able to stack up the Frost passive. So good job by TXT, recognizing that, making sure that they take that tool away. And we'll see what else these teams want to draft. So for SYNCUniverse, I fully expect that Echo to go into the mid lane. I'd be very, very surprised if it was a jungle Echo. So SYNCUniverse, they need to grab themselves both the jungler and a top laner, plenty available there. And TXT, banning of Lissandra, so maybe TXT's read is that Echo might go to the jungle. I don't necessarily expect it to be there, though. I think just because of the other junglers that are available, I think Echo would be incredibly weak into them. As Renekton, Vigar, Khalid, and Lissandra will be the final 4 bans in this first round of play. TXT, they've got themselves a fairly reliable top laner in the Mbessa, so I want to see what they'll pair with it in the jungle. Obviously, some really good junglers available. Jarvan, Xin Zhao are the immediate 2 that come to mind. Obviously, we've been seeing quite a bit of things like Diana, Sejuani, a bit of Kayn, obviously Viego. So a lot of those champions still available, but I think TXT gonna go and lock in the mid lane there. Fizz, potentially the great pick into Echo, as long as that Echo does stay in the mid lane. Fizz with a lot of safety as well, so even if the Echo does go to the jungle, it's not necessarily the scariest thing in the world. Fizz has a number of tools to get away from that, both with just his empowered dash, and then obviously the hop, skip, and the jump, as I like to call it, so get away from a giggity gank. Is Talon going to be the pickup there? Fully expect Talon to go to the jungle. I would be very, very surprised if that went mid. I am a little worried for Sync, though. They've got themselves 2 assassins, so they're missing quite a bit of health. So they need to get themselves a very reliable top laner. Scion, Ornn still available. Urgot, Mordekaiser also available. Gnar would be another great champion. I think Gnar's probably... Ooh, I was going to say Gnar probably the better champion here just to pick blind because of the safety that it would give them, but Sync opting to instead go with the Cho'Gath, so now TXT will have their counter pick in that top side or in the jungle if they want to flex the Ambessa to the jungle. I don't necessarily expect the Ambessa to go to the jungle, though, because of how heavily her ult has been nerfed. So expect it to be the jungle pick here for TXT. Question is, what do they favor into the Talon? And it is going to be the Shyvana to get themselves just a little bit of dueling power. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, sorry about that 2-minute delay. The TXT person that created the lobby did not turn the spectator delay off, so make sure to publicly shame that person the first opportunity you get. But we are on to the Rift SYNCUniverse TXT game number 1 in this series. Again, TXT looking for their 4th win and trying to put a loss in the column for SYNCUniverse. TXT, they've given themselves a good first draft to start with and a decent opportunity to start this series off with a win. But SYNCUniverse, they've been fairly convincing in all their wins. They've had some tight series, but I think have shown that they are more than capable and more than worthy enough of holding the first place spot. And so they will be looking to continue their undefeated ways. And they would like to continue this season with a 5-0 streak. That would feel, I think, feel pretty damn good for them. And so early game expectation for SYNCUniverse is to see them get active and get jiggy really, really early. It is, in fact, going to be the Talon in that mid lane, and it's going to be the Echo in the jungle. Not the worst, I think. It's a decent adaptation. I think there's maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity there because I feel like the Echo would have been perfectly fine into the Fizz. And I think Talon just has so much mobility in the jungle that it would make sense to play him. But SYNCUniverse probably seeing a little bit of a different angle in the game, and so we'll have to see how they pilot this early game and what they want to do with those champions. And Lusha, Fuse, and Mateo, they have been very, very good in the bot lane. I think they've been one of the standout parts of this entire team. It's been impressive seeing them play in all of their matches. And Lusha Fuse, obviously as a guest caster, on a previous stream, really showed that he has a really good mind for the game and has a really great understanding of how to play it and how to win these games, even when they are particularly challenging, even when they're going one-on-one in specific series. And so, they've shown me, I think shown everyone multiple times that they have a really good understanding of how they want to play the game as a team. They don't just understand the theory, but they also know how to apply it. And I think that's important because it's not just about having the book knowledge; it's about how you use it. And Imperium doing a really good job getting some nice early trades against Deathwish. And I think this is kind of the nice thing, but the talent is you have a little bit better ranged engage with the blades. Being able to throw out that Q repeatedly, and then plus being able to jump in and ignite the Fizz is pretty nice. The good news is for Deathwish, though, on that Fizz, he has a number of really good escape tools that he can use to get himself to safety. But the other thing I'm interested to see is this top lane. I think we've talked a lot in the past about how top lane matchups have kind of been this big island within the TLS, and it kind of just feels like whatever top laner gets a significant advantage, that lane just gets shut down, and the junglers kind of just ignore it. Is Lilto going to be here potentially to gank Empyrean, who gets first blood? Ignite knocks down the Fizz. Lilto wants to try and see if he has something to do with it. Now, Empyrean's leading Lilto into this. Is going to jump forward, tag the Q onto Lilto. Damage going down. This might be an early double. Empyrean wants to live. One more auto would knock him down. Flash forward. No! As SPU spammer makes sure that the... Oh, excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice already. As makes sure that the Shyvana goes down in a quick 2-0 kill streak. Given over to Sync, and Imperium was one more auto away from going down. Had to blow the flash early to create a little bit of space. But great job by Sync and great job by Spammer to make sure that there was no further follow-up. It was quick thinking, quick on the hands. And just enough damage to close that out. And so Empyrean, he'll be 1-0-1. Nice little kill plus a little bit of assist gold. We'll put him in a nice spot. And it's going to make that lane even harder for Deathwish. He's already significant CS down. It's about a 19 loss, or about 19 down already. Plus the kill, plus the first gold blood. So Empyrean going to be feeling really, really good about that play. The good investment. And plus they got both flashes off the jungler and the mid laner. And so Sync already doing what we expected them to do, which is start to get out to a little bit of an early lead. Using that early game aggression. And what was nice about that too is the fact that Empyrean was able to finish off that kill on a gank really that Little Toe started. You know, they were trying to turn it around because Empyrean was close to the turret. They wanted to try to pressure gank him because he was a little too far forward. But the nice part about that talent is you can just escape over the wall and you have plenty of ways to finish off a kill and get away. And so look to see Empyrean continue to do that as Deathwish starting to stack these electrocutes. He got the cannon, big W. And now we're starting to see Empyrean. He's got level 6. He's going to start to run around. Deathwish is answering this, but I don't think that they're strong enough really to do anything. See what Spammer wants to do. He could go over the wall and try and steal it, but TXT, they've already done a pretty good job of starting this up. Hawkshot is going to spot out at least 2 members. This Dragon's going down slowly, but Sync, they're just making the call to go ahead and pull off of it. They're not necessarily in the position to go ahead and rotate over to this drag, even if they do feel like they're strong enough to do it. Is Deathwish going to land the chum in the water? Empyrean wants to try and get over the wall, not able to, though. Shut down over to Deathwish. The Ignite and the ult committed. Empyrean really wasn't able to do too much about it. Tried to go in his own ult to buy a little bit of space, but ultimately ended up going down. Meanwhile, though, on the bot side, Sync wants to respond with something. General Twy manages just to land the tether. Ulto here to provide a little bit of support. Hot and Gay, meanwhile, though, eating all of these turret shots. Shifuse manages to land the tag up. One more flash forward would get it, and they do. Hot and Gay drops, so a 1-for-1 across the board. And SYNCUniverse making sure that they answer back with something, a little bit of an investment in the bot lane, but they do walk away with a kill. And honestly, not bad for them. They're going to get pressure on the turret. They're going to be able to get a couple turret plates. They did manage to draw over the Fizz for a moment there, so wasn't able to get load time in the mid lane to get turret plates. So Empyrean won't be losing much off of that death, even though it does suck to give over that gold back. Meanwhile, on the top lane, though, just top lane things go on. Absolutely nothing of note happening. It's just a little bit of a slugfest here. Both these guys are just going to continue to hit each other with wet noodles. It'll be a while before either of those guys really have any threat on one another. Little Twy, both the supports are roamed up here. And Grub spawned in about 50 seconds. Let's see who's going to be the first to rotate over there. DR Kaiser is going to be a little bit on the back foot right now just because he's getting the waves pushed into him, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because he can just start to hard shove that with the knockup and with the Void, the Vorpal spikes. Which is a really good AoE clear, to be honest with you. Deathwish doing a really good job getting these electrocutes, keeping these trades. Forces out the flash for Deathwish. One more Q does secure it, though. Empyrean in the solo 1v1 in that mid lane picks up another solo kill. I just said solo a bunch of times there. It's a little bit awkward. Pings coming down for vision towards that top side around Grubs. Let's see if TXT want to make something of it. They are going to spawn. And the Spammer is still up there. They could rotate Empyrean and DR Kaiser up there. I call him DR Kaiser. It's supposed to be Dr. Kaiser. I don't know why I'm calling him DR Kaiser. It's almost like Dr. Pepper, but it's Dr. Kaiser. It's like an off-brand of Dr. Pepper. It's like when you go in a Dollar General or Family Dollar and you just see, you don't get the regular, name brand sodas, you just get Dr. Kaiser. It's imported from Germany. No, just kidding. Little Toe is going to get spotted out here by both the Shifuse and Mateo, and I'm not sure he wanted to be here, because they are going to force him off of the Krugs. And so we'll get punished for that. He does stay around to smite them and take them away, so we'll at least not get all of his time wasted there, but that is going to be a trade for the Grubs in the top side, so I'm not really sure that that was worth it. And so Maybe not the best time investment, but at least he gets something out of it. Now, good vision control for Sync in the top side. Were pings going down there? He's not sure whether or not he's standing on vision because he doesn't have sweeper, so he's just not going to try and gank this right now because he's assuming that he's been seen. Dr. Kaiser, he wants to bait the Ambessa forward. I'll need to make sure to tell this person to turn streamer mode off. It's going to be knock him. Nice flash by the Ambessa to get away from it. Let's see if he can shut this one down. It is a 2-level advantage over to the Ambessa, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. Death Wish is here. Spammer wants to jump forward. One more auto would do it. Wants to hit the Sidewinder if he can to collect this kill, but just doesn't have the damage, doesn't have the abilities or the cooldowns, and so we'll have to walk away. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, or sorry, 1-for-nothing trade. Is Ambessa going to be walking away with a fairly nice kill there. In respect to Spammer, he wanted to try and get something in return, but just wasn't able to get close enough to get the final auto, and Sidewinder was on such a long cooldown, he couldn't throw that out there to collect it. TXT doing a really good job of staying scrappy, even though Sync, have this early game pressure with the Talon and with the Echo. They've been fairly mobile across the map, making sure that they make the most of their team comp. And most of making the most of the early pressure that Echo and Talon sort of generate for them. The TXT, they've shown that they have no problem responding to this. Deathwish, though, really, really far behind in CS, and that's really going to start to matter as we get closer and closer towards this mid-game. Already completed Yomu's Ghostblade for Empyrean. And Dusk and Dawn also completed for Spammer. So nice little early game power spikes for both the mid and the jungle for Sync. Let's see where they want to rotate that as far as pressure is concerned. Dragon just spawned. This should be Sync's chance to grab one of their own. But Mateo and Shafuse, they've got to push out this bot lane way before they can look to make their way over to it. But it's 4 strong there, so this should be their opportunity to contest with this dragon. And they're even pinging it. Is right now Deathwish trying to get that mid wave shoved. It's going to call Empyrean over there to at least respond to that and answer and try and collect that CS. Hot and Gate going to get exhausted up. Forces the flash out. This is going to be on best underneath the turret. Dr. Kaiser not able to live even underneath his own structure. And now SYNCUniverse trying to get the hella dodge to the outside. 4 strong for TXT. They clicked 1, 2, possibly 3 kills. Spammer wanted to go in. Empyrean has arrived, but it's a little too late. Twy taking down with the Ignite, but manages to live so far. Toe and Twy need to get out of here. Empyrean wants to have something to do with this, but he's got a lot of health to chew through, and now he's going to get turned back on him. Hot and Gay manages to collect that one. The Ash rocking and rolling 1, 1, and 2. On Gay, he would like to get another one before they leave out of there, but they are just going to settle for some turret plates in the minions. And TXT with a massive fight in the bot lane. They get 3 across the board. Dr. Kaiser dying in the top lane. And SYNCUniverse, they're already starting to feel the woes of this composition come to fruition. Dr. Spammer and Empyrean weren't able to get enough done in there. Yes, that burst was really good, but they weren't able to finish off those health bars from the side of TXT. And in that long extended team fight, that's where you start to see exactly how good that Ashe can be, along with that karma and that trading power that they have. What was interesting, too, was Hot and Gate was forced to blow the flash at the beginning of that sort of, dragon dance. You're forced to get closer underneath the tower, but then they were able to just turn that back into pressure. And so for SYNCUniverse, a little bit of sloppy execution in the last couple minutes. And the problem when you run a composition like this with the Echo and the Talon is once you start to fall behind, it becomes really, really difficult to get back ahead and to regain an advantage. Because the trade-off for having that early game pressure is you have champions that, once they reach 2 or 3 items, they're really not going to get stronger. Is Hot and Gay going to throw out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to stun the Braum in place. Mateo with the turret throwing down quite a bit of damage. They start to push this through. Empyrean was spotted on a ward. Deathwish, though, going to be also spotted in the tri-bush. So these guys just kind of dancing the little conga line dance of who's going to make what move, who makes the mistake. Mateo needs to be very careful, though, because he's basically one shot for this Fizz if he comes down. And Spammer going to be called just to provide a little bit of coverage, a little bit of safety. As my God, Ambessa again onto Dr. Kaiser. This is going to be the Shyvana joining on in the fight. Dr. Kaiser manages to land the knockup, but it only delays the inevitable. Little Toe doesn't drop to the turret And yet another kill on that top side. This Cho'Gath really starting to struggle. You start to wonder how much different it would have been with a champion like the Ornn or the Gnar, something a little bit less risky than the Cho'Gath. As Glacial Fissure was thrown down for some reason, thinking they were going to land that on top of the Ashe. But it was a little bit out of range. And so TXT will be in no danger there. All right, so for Sync, sorry, I was having to deal with some production stuff on the back end. So for Sync, we need to see them kind of start to clean up their playmaking here a little bit. You know, you do still have, or at least you had a little bit of an early advantage. You still have plenty of damage and the pressure to put that down, but it's all going to be about where they're applying it and when they want to sort of rotate that pressure through to get the most bang for their buck. And it really needs to be whenever that bot lane starts to push a little bit heavily, and they need to bring all four down there to try and knock down the Ashe and the Karma, because those are the easiest picks that you can get, because everybody else inside of TXT is really, really difficult to knock down. The Shyvana, not an easy target. The Fizz, really, really difficult to isolate. You know, the Mbessa, when she starts to join these team fights, is not really a champion that you want to be engaging on. And so I want to see them start to clean it up a little bit more, as Mbessa wants to try and walk out of this spammer. Might just have the damage now, and that's what we were talking about, maybe calling a little bit over. So locking that Mbessa in the 1v2, even though we just said that wasn't necessarily the champion you want to focus, you know, when you start to overextend a little bit and put your health bar in a rough state, you invite that kind of opportunity from Sync. So they'll be happy to knock that Mbessa on the back foot for just a little bit. And the good news is that the Mbessa does have teleport. Ooh, let's see this. Shyvana jumping in, wants to knock down the Cho'Gath if she can, is going to kill it, but this is going to be a Smite fight spammer. Manages to walk away with the Herald. So a 1 for Herald trade right now. Little Toe wants to get a little bit more done. Deathwish jumps in, hasn't yet thrown out the ultimate, or actually has now. Wants to see what else he can get. Manages to get one spammer. The next on the list, forced to flash over the wall. Deathwish wants to run this down. Is going to pop the Scryer's Bloom just to see where the Echo is running, but we shouldn't be able to run the Echo down. So spammer should be able to get to safety.
I don't have all day.
And so TXT, yes, they did lose the Herald off that play, but not, I think, not too sad with with the overall outcome, especially considering that the Mbessa is going to get that first tower. Now, because they do have the Herald, they can look to try and rotate this play through either mid or bot. I don't think they want to place the Herald top lane at all. I just don't think it's worth it. That tower's not nearly close enough to getting dead to use it, so they need to try and combine the Herald off a big team fight play. But the one thing I'm worried about right now is I think SYNCUniverse, we're kind of already reaching the tipping point where their composition's not able to really outfight TXT, who's already going to start off this Dragon. They are first here to set up the vision. There is going to be absolutely no contest from Sync. They are nowhere near close to this Dragon to do anything about it. So this will be Dragon Point going over to TXT. Let's see what they can find here in the mid lane. Twi is going to be here to keep Deathwish nice and healthy. He's going to throw down this shield. It's going to be the unstoppable over the wall for the Mbessa. And Empyrean manages to flash out. Plus the Youmuu's Ghostblade has quite a bit of movement speed. But the result of that is he's less spammer all on his lonesome. You know, Twi flashed forward to try and find a slowdown onto the Echo, but wasn't able to do it. And so a lot invested there from TXT to try and run down a couple of members there of the SYNCUniverse squad. On the bot side, and Channel Crystal are going to lock up like Shifuse, and our favorite Frenchman gets donated to the cause. And TXT are really showing their stripes right now. As Mateo doesn't realize what bad position he's in. As there's 3 people behind this turret. Deathwish going to be here to provide a little bit of emotional support and collect the kill. That Aphelios goes down. The man with the chakram and the Severum is only dangerous when he has someone else to hide behind. When he's on his lonesome, that Aphelios really not worth the draft price that you pay for him. And also nowhere near an itemization to be dangerous enough. This Spammer and Dr. Kaiser trying to knock down this Mbessa, but that is way easier said than done. And now they're going to chase underneath the turret. But the Devourer will eventually lock the Mbessa down. So SYNCUniverse at least trading for something on the top side. They're going to pop the Herald. Look to trade for plates there. Deathwish is here. He might have something to say about this. He will at least run both of them off, so they won't be collecting the turret. But they will be able to collect a couple plates. Deathwish is going to run up there. He's going to knock down that Herald. Collect the wave, but I still think not the right call for Sync to put that Herald on the top side. I think they probably should have invested that mid, especially with the kill onto Invested. They could have just shoved the wave, rotated mid, collected that tower, and then possibly even looked for, you know, a skirmish or a team fight. So I just don't think it was necessarily worth it to put a top side. Because the other thing is, too, is even if they knock down that turret, it doesn't really give them anything. Yeah, it evens up that, you know, that turret score is... All right, Hot and Gay going to be getting the retreatment that Mateo got, as he was way overforced and will always be dying here. Not sure that it was worth it to throw down the Enchanted Crystal Arrows. He was always going to die, but hey, if you've got to use it. And let's see what TXT want to do as we start to get to the 20-minute mark. Baron will be spawning here shortly. And they might decide that they want to fight. Little Toad deciding he wants to go in. Glacial Frizzer buys a little bit of space, but not much more. Now Empyrean going to have to find his way out of here. Hops over the wall. Little Toad, Rage is starting to run out, so we'll go back into the regular Shyvana form. But not in any danger of dying. So TXT, they just mosey on out of that bot wave, or that bot lane. And return to their rightful place on the map. For TXT, I gotta say I'm impressed with this. You know, a lot of teams have contested Sync in a number of different ways and proved that they've, you know, been able to at least try and compete. But TXT, this is the most convincing, I think, I would say, out of anybody so far, and at least in the first game. As unfortunately, Shifuse is going to be donated as a kill. General Twite taking quite a bit of damage, but the counter gauge coming out for the side of TXT. This is Deathwish on a rampage. What else can they get? They'd like to get 3 kills. Dr. Kaiser just trying to run away. Enchanted Crystal Arrow knocks him up just short of the turret. Not able to get the safety spammer. Wants to at least get something, but takes the ultimate back underneath the turret after doing a little bit of damage. Now Mbessa can look to chase this underneath the turret. Has the resets, has the damage, the wombo combo. Spammer forced to run for his life, forced to use the flash just to get away. And now the ping's coming down on top of this Baron. Hot and Gay, General Twite going to join Little Toe. They do quite a bit of damage to this Baron. Disaster, really good champion for knocking this down, but needs to be careful because the health bar's not super healthy right now. But luckily 4 members in this top side for the side of TXT. Gonna knock this objective down, and they have been clean through so much of this game, and I like to play immediately rotating from the mid lane play to grab the Baron. And they will be able to get out cleanly. No response from Sync on that. Sync stuck their heads into that river trying to see if maybe they could find a return play there. Maybe see if they could catch somebody on a greedy recall, but unfortunately we're not able to find anything. And now with TXT, with Baron on 5 members, they can start to spread this out, push these waves in, knock down these turrets. And for Sync, I mean, you're really in a rough position. You know, you do not have the tools to finish off these fights, even in a 5v5. You know, unfortunately, Empyrean and Spammer, they're just so vulnerable. Now, Mbessa doesn't want to face check this, has the tools to get out, but now the collapse is going to start to come through. Little Toe goes unstoppable, and now multiple members of SYNCUniverse are caught on the wrong side of this play. Deathwish trying to knock down the jungler, manages to do so, but it's 2 kills on the backside, 2 for 2 so far. Mateo starting to put out the damage. Wait a minute, Empyrean is making this interesting. He got towards the backside, managed to knock down the Ashe. 2 left here, Mbessa trying to put in the final touches, but doesn't have the health bar available. Dr. Kaiser and Empyrean, they've got everything they need. Oh, Empyrean didn't get over the wall. Oh, can Deathwish do it? He does manage to collect that one in the end. Double kill in the end for Dr. Kaiser. A very, very messy fight. Does he fancy himself trying to take this dragon? It will be 14 seconds before a jungler gets out there. Can Little Toe run over there and stop this? He probably knows that Dr. Kaiser's on. And General Twite trying to run out there to see if they can potentially slow up this Cho'Gath. Everyone's running out. They know know how much this dragon means. It would be a Hextech soul here for the side of TXT if they could get it. Remember, Dr. Kaiser has the Devour, so this is effectively a smite. Little Toe trying to run as fast as he possibly can. It would be a potential smite fight between the two. But no, it is just going to be Sync grabbing that objective. They managed to win the team fight. They stopped the dragon stacking. And Sync, they managed to get out now. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to land onto one. Shifuse going to be locked up. Super long range. That CC time just so long. So the Braum will be going straight to the death fountain. And Mbessa not able to find anything over the wall, so they will start to push this out. Their Baron is effectively gone because everybody died in that team fight. TXT, what can they do in the siege? They're a little bit longer range right now, so they can start to put the damage into this tower. With that crystalline growth there, it's just going to start. They're going to start to be able to shred through that turret health. Right now, they're grouped up as 5, and I think this is the right call. If you don't have Baron, if you're trying to push your minion waves in, ooh, Hot and Gay taking quite a bit of damage. Mbessa manages to block any further engage. Right, so let's see what else they can do here. Again, no Baron makes it a little bit more difficult for them to siege on these turrets, as Hot and Gay may be potentially caught. Has the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, so he can throw this down Empyrean. When does he want to commit this damage? Does throw out the ultimate and collects the Ash, but now has to get away. Has the ability to do so. Little Toe with the auto attack will just get him with the passive burn damage, and so it's a 1-for-1. Mid laner for ADC. TXT, I think, not necessarily the most unhappy with that trade. Now Sync marching up the mid lane. They're going to grab this mid lane turret to at least even it up there. And so it is 2-for-4 in that count. So still behind on that standing objective gold. All right, Sync starting to show us that they can actually start to team fight their way out of this hole that they've started to get themselves in a little bit. Unfortunately, the TXT do still have a little bit of a gold lead. It's not as meaningful as it was a few minutes ago, but it is still something that they have. We're starting to see those itemizations come out, specifically that Infinity Edge completed for Mateo, which is really going to start to amp up the Aphelios damage. Unfortunately, that is at the cost of a 2-level lead to Hot and Gay, which will continue to feel really, really nice. And so that is at least a small incremental advantage that TXT has. Hot and Gate should be able to get away from this. The Glacial Fissure is going to be committed to Aphelios ult as well as that. Stunned up over the wall. No one else from a TXT to help stop this from going down. So Hot and Gate will drop. The recall's going to be channeled. No neutral objective to play for right now is Little Toe doing a pretty good job of trading back the health onto the Echo. Little Toe goes in. Death Wish needs to be careful. Spamber wants to follow up. They want to knock down that Fizz if they can. Standing health bars still pretty low for the side of TXT, but Mbessa has joined the fight now. Misses the ultimate. Sorry, I'm trying to conserve what little is left of my voice. And see, they're doing a really good job of finding these small plays across the map. Little skirmishes, little individual moments where they're picking people without summoners. And they're continually focusing on Hot and Gay, making sure that that Ashe just doesn't feel safe anywhere on the map. And every time that Ashe has summoners, they're continually blowing them. For TXT, I'd like to see them group up as 5. And more important, I'd like to see them hit their ultimate, specifically this Mbessa ult that seems to have just missed several times throughout the last 5-6 minutes. It hasn't really seemed like it's landed on anybody of importance or really landed at all. Little Toe and Death Wish, they're going to ambush Empyrean in this top side. Empyrean manages to get over the wall, pops Yomu's Ghostblade, and so we'll get to safety. I think if you're Little Toe and Death Wish, I think you need to try and format that gank a little bit differently. You need to be a little bit more aggressive in cutting off this escape angles. You need to have someone waiting over the wall, knowing that he's going to immediately try and escape through the jungle. He's only ever going to go that one direction. Next dragon spawning in about 25 seconds. In the period, he'll have access to the ultimate that he just used on that bot side, plus the flash. So he can look to get on top of this Ashe, or even try and blow up Death Wish. And for Sync, those are really their 2 targets. They want to get the Ashe. They want to get the Fizz. These are big sources of damage, but they need to make sure that they're dodging this Mbessa ult. There's a little bit of an aggressive engage towards Little Toe. Teleport going to be channeled now from the Mbessa. Empyrean trying to go in. Hot and Gay living so far. Mbessa manages to pick up the kill onto Empyrean. But now they've got to close out the rest of this fight. Remember, SYNCUniverse, they don't necessarily have the health bar that Dr. Kaiser has on the Cho'Gath. But it's a 2 for 3 so far. General Twy just trying to provide a little bit of damage. Hot and Gay now trying to join the fight, but Spammer just doing so much on this backside. Goes into the Golden Stasis, and Mateo now starting to arrive, starting to shell the damage into the backs of the TXT members. And SYNCUniverse, while it looked a little rough in the kind of early-ish to mid-game, they have fully responded. They are landing onto the targets that they need to get. They forced out the Ash at the beginning of that fight. Now they'll be looking to get their second dragon of the game. Little Toe wants to get in, wants to try and do something, but really shouldn't be able to steal this away. Spammer has the smite, and this will go down for Sync. And well done by Sync to right the wrongs and wash away some of their sins in that early game. Now TXT, that gold lead that they had has started to vanish. It's less than 1,000 now. And Sync doing a really, really good job of target prioritization, making sure that they're constantly focusing this Ash so she doesn't have firing time in the back line, making sure that they're protecting Mateo so that this Aphelios can pour out damage. And yes, Mateo is only 1, 4, and 8 on this Aphelios, but don't let that fool you. That doesn't tell the full story of this game and how much damage he's been shelling out. And massive respect to Spammer and Empyrean on walking down these targets. On the side of TXT, making sure that no one feels safe to get into any area where they don't have vision, setting up control of his neutral objectives, and Embezzle once again missing the ultimate. Does Shifu's want to chase this down? He's going to opt not to, and instead, TXT, they're going to make their way towards this Baron. I don't agree with this call. This is not the right call for them. They don't want to get caught doing this Baron. Remember, they don't quite have the health bars to survive this. They don't have a dedicated Cho'Gath to soak up a lot of this damage. And now Sync, they're going to look to try and find a re-engage of their own. Mateo over the top collects his second kill of the game. And now they're looking for a little bit more as the Fizz ultimate not able to get anything. Shum the Waters goes wide. Little Toe stacked at this Rage, looking for that nice Shyvana engage. But Sync not providing any angle for them to do so. Not going to keep them honest. And now Sync just making the call to go towards this mid lane. They can look to knock down this tower. This is going to force the recalls out from TXT. And Sync, they don't even need the Baron to start to siege these towers. They're going to get quite a bit done. Might even be walking away with Inhibitor. But TXT, with the respawns, still 24 seconds. They need to find a way to pinch this. As unfortunately, Deathwish is going to go into the stasis. Not necessarily where he wanted to pop that. And Channel Crystal Arrow going to lock down at least one. Mateo wants to try and get to safety. He is living right now with a smidgen of health, but it is something and is still doing so much damage. Meanwhile, Spammer and Kaiser doing all the work for SYNCUniverse, and that might just be the final fight as the Embezzle will respond just in time to be the solo man defending in the base. SYNCUniverse, they committed some cardinal sins in that early to mid game, but they more than made up for it. Their team fighting capability fully on display. It's what they're known for. It's what they're great at. Some great shot calling, and they're showing why they're the first place team in this division. And they're going to grab their first win of the series. But all is definitely not lost for them yet. They will have plenty of opportunities, I think, if they can get themselves a good draft in the second game. Look to tie it up and then, come back and try and win it in a third game. SYNCUniverse, they have been pushed to 3 games before, so this is, not necessarily an impossible feat. I will say, though, that SYNCUniverse haven't been pushed to 3 games. They have been in that territory before, and so they know what to do. It's just a matter of actually doing it. As my favorite phrase, it's all down to the execution. And speaking of down to execution, draft is also something that you have to execute well. As Kiana, Leona, and Lily are going to be the same bans from TXT, SYNCUniverse banning the Shin and the Ezreal. And Smolder going to be the ban away there. They want to make sure that that first pick does not come through. And Smolder has been one of the most popular picks within the league, so it's no surprise to see TXT, or sorry, SYNCUniverse take that away from TXT. And TXT, they're going to draft themselves at least a similar ADC to what they drafted in the first game. With the Caitlyn. And SYNCUniverse might decide that they want to respond here with the Jinx. I think it would be a little early to show the Jinx. I wouldn't necessarily agree with them trying to pick that in the first round, but SYNCUniverse, they know more than I do, so they're going to go ahead and pick that one in. Sorry, rather lock that champion in, and they're going to lock the Lissandra in as well to pair alongside them, get them some good, reliable engage. I love Lissandra in the mid lane. It's also a very, very safe blind pick. There's not a lot that can punish this, so I'm fully okay with Sync locking this in this early. It also opens them a lot of capabilities to pick something aggressive towards either the jungle or the top lane role with that final counter pick, which I think is good. Especially knowing that there's not a tremendous number of picks that can counter Lissandra, you're not really worried about what TXT might draft into it. As a brand going to be the pickup there in the mid lane for TXT. Not necessarily sure that I think that's the best, at least in the 1v1 versus the Lissandra, because of how much stasis time she gets to dodge the brand damage. But in a team fight, Brand absolutely is worth his weight in gold. Just because of the sheer colossal AoE damage that he gives. He's a great zoning champion as well, so he makes it really difficult to fight around neutral objectives. As TXT, do they lock this Kled in? That would be a very aggressive pick. And so now SYNCUniverse, they're kind of seeing TXT's cards all on the table right now. They know that the only thing that's left to pick is the support and the jungle. So they can really start to punish these potential picks, especially in the bot side. They can draft themselves a very, very aggressive support, especially something to kind of help heal through that brand damage. Is the Garen going to be the ballsy pick there on the top side for Dr. Kaiser? He wants to go straight up into that 1v1, into that Kled. Let's see what the final round of bans are going to be. In SYNCUniverse, when you pick that Garen, that is a confidence pick. And to me, that signals that they want to end this out a convincing 2-0. They want to get a lead, and they don't want to let go of it. It's interesting how this draft has turned out, because it's been top, mid, and ADC all picked. And so now it's just supports and junglers left to pick for both teams, as Volibear going to be the takeaway there from Sync. TXT, a number of things that they can look to ban. Is the Thresh going to be the takeaway there for the Jinx? Is nope, it's going to be that last minute switch over to the Lulu. That makes a lot of sense. I think it makes more sense for TXT to try and ban out some more of the enchanters. And I'd like to see them potentially take either the Nami or the Nautilus off the board here. I think the Nautilus wouldn't be the worst with the Jinx. If they're not going to ban that, then this Silas ban doesn't make a lot of sense. Because Silas in the jungle is not necessarily what Sync want to pick, given that they already have the magic damage. And I don't think that they really want a magic damage jungler, so it might be better to ban a more engagey champ like the Xin Zhao or the Jarvan, or maybe even the Skarner to some degree with what SYNCUniverse have drafted, or even Sejuani would have been a better ban. So I don't know that I agree with that Silas pick there. Or that Silas ban away, rather. And so Sync, what do they want to pick here in the support role? They want to get the counter pick in the jungle, I think, if possible. And so fully expecting either something like the Nami or the Nautilus that we mentioned earlier, and there it is. That Nautilus pick, a really good pick with the Jinx. Enables them a lot of CC, gives them quite a bit of skirmishing power, and it gives them quite a bit of team fighting in the late game, which I think is really important. Let's see what TXT want to answer with. The Seraphine's still available, so they could go Seraphine Caitlyn. Nami also available, which wouldn't be bad. With the Caitlyn, they could look to get themselves some engaged, so they could go the Pyke. Instead, they will just wait to lock in the support, unless this is brand support, which would be very surprising. But they could flex it over there. Brand support into Jinx Nautilus wouldn't be the worst. There's Dr. Mundo, the pickup in the jungle for TXT. I like this Mundo pick. Gives them, excuse me, gives TXT a lot of safety from the CC that Sync has already drafted. And Melio, excuse me, I had the hiccups. Melio going to be the pseudo healer enchanter. Not really. I don't know. He serves a complex role, but going to be the pickup there alongside the Caitlyn. And now SYNCUniverse, they have a number of champions they can go with here. In the jungle, they can look to potentially pick themselves up a Diana to give themselves some more magic damage in the jungle if they wanted to go that route. Xin Zhao's still available. The Kane's still available. And indeed, they're going to lock that in. But we are on to the Rift, game number 2 between TXT and SYNCUniverse. Sync already having their first win of this series. One more wraps it up for them for the night. But TXT would like to get themselves on the board in this series, and they would still like to hand Sync their first ever loss of the season. But I think much easier said than done as Shifuse managing to land a nice little hook there. And the one thing we didn't get a chance to highlight was how nice it is for Gentle Twy on the Melio to kind of get rid of that Nautilus engage. The kickball is a really, really good ability in sending the Nautilus back the way he came, and it kind of helps cancel out the dredge line passive in terms of pulling the targets to mid-direction. So at least in that early game skirmishing, I'm fully expecting Hot and Gay and Gentle Twy to kind of have possession over that lane. But as has been highlighted so many times throughout all of our series in this season, the junglers loving to get involved in this bot lane where they can get quite a bit more done and where they can get the bang for the buck, and especially with Spammer on this Kayn. Really wants to accelerate his form as quickly as possible. I fully expect him to go towards that red Kayn. I think it would be a surprise if he went towards a blue Kayn, but you know, I've been wrong before, and it's okay. I would be okay being wrong again. But I think red Kayn probably the better choice here for Sync. Shifuse throws down the early ignite on top of Hot and Gay. Mateo in a much better spot right now. Doing a pretty good job of trading the autos, but he does need to get the Nautilus involved. Flash out. Kickball buys a little bit of space. The Dreadline's to a minion. And the health bars, which were good for Sync, are now starting to get traded back. So good footwork there from the side of TXT to dodge the majority of the follow-up CC. But it does cost the flash and the heal. Traded for the flash and the ignite from Shifuse. But Mateo will still be holding on to his summoner, so that's going to feel good. And I'm curious to see where TXT wants to try and make a play in this early game, and where they think that they will have strength is Deathwish might just be collecting himself in early for first blood, and in fact does so, as it was similarly in the first game, so traded back. Zempyrian was the first one to get first blood in, or was the one to get first blood in the last game. Deathwish returns the favor as Hot and Gay going to get knocked up and clapped down by the Chompers. He's flash forward from Mateo, who held onto that summoner for that reason, can now start to put the final damage into the Caitlyn. They would like to make this a 2-for-1, I guess, in the end, as Gentle Twy will be going down here, and it will be a double kill for Mateo. As meanwhile in the jungle, Little Toe forced to flash away from Spammer. Empyrean has gotten here. He can look to follow up. And Spammer wants to chase this kill. Deathwish and Little Toe a little bit skinny on health bars. And Dr. Kaiser returning the favor that was paid to him in the last game. Not sure he needed to flash there, but decided to play it safe and rather than be sorry. But Sync, a nice little trade in that bot side, forces the flash up for Tran, does Dr. Kaiser. And so summoner for summoner in that top side. Dr. Kaiser, again, will continue to try and run down this Kled wherever possible. Little Toe is here. Dr. Kaiser is now gone out without a summoner available. Little Toe doesn't have flash either. Ping's coming through. Will Little Toe call this off? Wants to delay Dr. Kaiser, who may be baiting this forward, as Little Toe is silenced. Tran, not enough health to really do much about this. Meanwhile, the bot side, no, non-stop action. Mateo forcing out the flash from Gentle Twy, putting quite a bit of damage on that Melio. Dr. Kaiser slowly getting low. Deathwish collects one kill. They'd like to collect a second one. Spammer manages to get into the wall to get away from them. And this is already starting to look really, really messy from both these teams. And I respect Dr. Kaiser trying to stay around as long as he did in that top side, trying to bait out the over-aggression from Tran and Little Toe, thinking that Spammer would be able to do a little bit more than he was able to, but that Kayn not quite in the position he needs to be to put out that oppressive damage that we see Kayn players put out once we get towards the later game. But you're already starting to see the promise of Sync's composition and how they want to play it. Dr. Kaiser not feeling too bad in that top lane right now, even though he didn't get a kill. Tran only managed to get the assist, so it's not like that top lane matchup will getting too much out of hand. Lishifuse doing a really good job of ceasing Hot and Gay. Unfortunately, Mateo decided that minions were more important, and so now Lishifuse will probably die for his ADC sins. As Hot and Gate was trying to get the last auto attack that he would have needed. Spammer is here. It's going to be the Dredge line, so he will in the end die. Mateo wants to get another kill. Manages to do so. Goes into the Frenzy General trying to run away. Meanwhile, though, Deathwish and Little Toe have joined, and now this is going to be an overextension here as Deathwish committed the ultimate and will down one. Would like to get the second one. Spammer wants to try and get away, but there are 3 people waiting here, and so his death is all but assured. As wants to try and see if he can get close to General Twy, but does get stunned up. So a bit of a misplay there from SYNCUniverse, thinking that they were going to be able to get those kills quicker. I have to say, that's Mateo's fault, 100%. I'm not sure what Mateo was doing there, because clearly the call, once the Nautilus starts to land the CC, either onto Hot and Gay or to General Twy, you should immediately be trying to turn to do that damage. And so, you know, not to put too much onus on it, but I think Mateo was a bit at fault there for not immediately turning to try and put damage to either member of TXT in that bot side, because it's even a little bit of follow-up onto the combination from Lishifuse would have given them everything they needed to collect at least one of those kills. And so a little bit of a miscommunication there from both those bot laners, and I think it's unfortunate, especially because they gave over 3 kills to TXT in that bot side. And the good news is Hot and Gay was not one of the ones to pick those up. So it's just sitting at 1, 2, and 1. The bad news is, though, is it did go into Deathwish, which is really not where you would want on that brand, who is now massively accelerated, especially over his counterpart in that mid lane in Empyrean. And for SYNCUniverse, I'd like to see some early merch threads come out from basically everybody on this team. I think merch threads is going to get a tremendous amount of value here, just with the brand alone. I think it's incredibly important that they get whatever magic resist that they can. And Sync, off of a little bit of a tempo play, they're going to grab themselves the first dragon. Ping's coming down into their own topside jungle. They know that multiple people are there. Possibly going to cut off the retreat here for Deathwish, who is going to land the full combination onto Empyrean, who is ticking down. Oh, the Dredge line manages to land onto Deathwish, and he is slowly ticking. Empyrean goes into the stasis. Deathwish will manage to, I think, collect one off that passive. That damage, that Ignite doing quite a bit of damage from the brand kit. Little Toe will be dropping. Tran now has to try and see if he can collect one here. Wants to get dismounted and get away. Not landing the shotgun yet. Dr. Kaiser doing a really good job running away. Tran trying to catch up to the gear. Not able to. Spammer is going to go into the ultimate. The Dredge line not even needed. Tran, though, doing a really good job of surviving. The ultimate will be committed. He goes back to Scarl. The Ignite thrown down just to collect him. He will drop in the end, but it takes quite a bit of investment for Sync in that fight on the top side, but they end up getting 2 kills for it. And Sync firing back on their own as we're dead even in the gold right now. And Dr. Kaiser will start to pick up some of that turret plate gold, but it will be traded in the bot side. Mateo forced to hover underneath the turret just for a little bit of an additional safety. And the one thing I want to point out is how out of control Deathwish is starting to get. Yeah, Dr. Kaiser and Lishifuse, they need to rotate. Empyrean is just going to go slowly burn this. I think he dies actually underneath the turret just with the passive damage. And yeah, in fact, does in fact die. 3 grubs collected there for TXT, so they stop Sync from being able to interfere with that objective, and they managed to take those away. And Deathwish, I'm really worried for SYNCUniverse just with how out of control Deathwish is getting. His pings are coming down. Spammer went the wrong direction. Not sure where he thought Deathwish was going to be. Forces out the flash from the Kane. And if you're SYNCUniverse, you need to start to do something about this brand ASA right now. Already has that completed Blackfire Torch. Will start to rush that Leandris or maybe even a Malignance. Oh my god, I'm tongue-tied. Sucks when you have hiccups. But I think Deathwish, once he's completed his tier 2 boots, will be fully justified in starting a Leandris now. I think that'd be a really good item for him. Now, the only thing that would be more okay with other than the Leandris would be a Rylai's Crystal Scepter just to add a slow, so, you know, to add insult to injury when he starts to ult the entire team of SYNCUniverse. But I'm really concerned not only just for the mid lane matchup, but for the team fighting here for the side of Sync now. Because yes, as long as Deathwish is not involved in these fights, they can definitely, they could definitely win them. But the problem is this brand is going to be involved, and they don't really have a good answer for the damage that he's putting out right now. I mean, a Deathwish at this point, as long as he just gets ult off, that's a victory. You know, even if he gets wombo combo to death but presses hard, that's absolutely worth. In SYNCUniverse, which is worse, is they have to be aware of every time Deathwish goes off vision, they have to suspect that he's going to be running to a side lane to try and affect it. Now, Sync do have tools to win these team fights and win these skirmishes, but they have to do them away from Deathwish right now, or they need to overload that mid lane and just burst him out, shut him down before he gets a chance to ult. Because I think even if you send 3 people, if he gets a full combination off on one person, he's at least walking away with 1 kill. And the good news is it is easy to take advantage of that brand because he is fairly immobile and he doesn't have access to the flash right now. And so if Sync want to make a play, they can. But it's just, you're going to have to eat a lot of damage to do it. And I don't think anyone on Sync right now feels comfortable getting too close to that brand. And so I think Sync, the best call is just to stall out the game. Just continue to try and farm up, wait for the other items that you need before you start to try and pick a fight. As Tran, we'll see if he comes back. They are going to go into a pause. Let's see, gotta fix this stuff. Sorry. Time control's gonna turn that off. This is what happens when you press a button on production that you're not supposed to press. Meanwhile, on the bot side, though, TXT are going to do exactly what we call them to do, which is they're going to go ahead and to get that team fight started off right. Meanwhile, though, Teleport's going to get channeled. Spammer will at least be collecting 1. All of the damage now uploaded from General Twy is now gone. Spammer trying to chase down the brand. Teleport will finally be channeled from the Kled here, but it might be a little bit too late. Deathwish trying to get away from multiple members, trying to run him down. Spammer would like to collect that one. So far, it is going to be a 2 for 2. But meanwhile, SYNCUniverse doing a really, really good job of locking these guys down. Tran is to be the next to fall. Wasn't able to get the damage. The Super Mega Death Rocket puts the damage into the side of TXT. And a fight that looked really, really good for TXT as a dive underneath that turret quickly goes back against them. SYNCUniverse responding in kind. Nice teleport. Manages to even things up, and Empyrean getting a lot done in that, walks with a double kill in the end. And TXT, they did what we said that they needed to do. Deathwish roamed down there. They got a really, really impressive dive on that bot lane turret and managed to kill off Mateo really, really quickly, but then didn't finish off the Nautilus. And Sync had plenty of time to rotate through, and then once that full combo from TXT was committed, they were kind of out of damage. And then they were caught with really nowhere else to go. Had to blow a lot of summers just to try and walk away. As Deathwish flashing forward for some reason, getting the full combo on Mateo, who will at least drop down to a quarter health. Won't die, but it will be a close affair. Deathwish, even in a 1v2, is very dangerous. And Shafuse, I think making the wrong call to try and channel the Hex Flash over the wall. I think could have just walked through there and would have had the same effect. But luckily for him, nobody dies. Now TXT, they were starting to get themselves a little bit of a gold lead. At least right now, it will be fairly even. Is Empyrean gonna jump forward, wants to land the ultimate on top of Hot and Gay. Hot and Gay managed to buy a little bit of space, but it's not enough to get him away from Spammer, who will drop. Now it'll Twy the next on the list. No summoners, throws the kickball out just to buy a little space, but it just doesn't matter. Spammer flash forward, hits him with the Q double kill for the Kane, who's now rocking and rolling 4-1 and 4. He's gonna be feeling really, really good now. Is off that team fight earlier in that bot side jungle. He was the recipient of that. Little Co and Dr. Kaiser, do they have enough to knock down the Garen? Tran is going to get remounted. Dr. Kaiser, he has access to the ultimate, throws it down, not quite enough. Damage was 1 auto short. Miscalculated, thought he had enough to kill the Kled. But in fact, did not. But Sync, though, they're in control of this game right now. They're happy with the way things are going. They're looking to collect themselves here shortly a mid lane turret, the Spammer. And chasing through the jungle. Deathwish, yeah, he's going to catch Imperium out somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be. And SYNCUniverse may also be somewhere they're supposed to be right now. Spammer in the middle of 3 people, just doesn't care. Knocking them down. Han Gay trying to do enough damage to get this cake off of his support, but it just isn't enough. Goes into the ultimate hot gate, wants to buy a little bit of space. Shafuses here just to provide a little bit of emotional support. The Dredge steals away the kill. Bad guy support. Taking away the triple kill that the jungler had earned. But the reward off that is going to be them getting that mid lane tier 1 and putting Dig into the mid lane tier 2. Again, sorry for the hiccups. And Sync well in control of this game. 2 dragons to their name. Obviously, the second one went down without us quite noticing after just before that pause. But TXT, they're getting dragged down in the mud, which is where SYNCUniverse wants to keep them. SYNCUniverse likes this high-paced, dirty kind of team fighting style of gameplay. Throughout all their wins, this is really where they've shown that they're the strongest. Is in these fast-paced shot-calling moments where they're able to make strategies up on the fly and keep people on their toes. And TXT, they're getting pulled into that. And Hot and Gay right now has been having a very, very difficult series. 1-5-3 on this Caitlyn, just hasn't been able to get too much done. Has been the focus of quite a bit of Sync's affection. If affection was, battering people that you don't like, which is exactly what Sync has been doing. And Sync starting to build themselves a little bit of a gold lead. They'd like to expand on that, which they'll have the opportunity to do here in about 1 minute and 30 seconds as the next, our soul is going to be the Cloud Soul. Not necessarily the most influential soul in the game by any stretch of the imagination. It's widely regarded as one of the least useful, but it's also nice to just take it away from your opponent and keep them from getting it. And, if you have it and they don't, that's a win. There's a Little Toe stepping underneath turret for some reason. Not sure why he decided to do that. Want to see SYNCUniverse start to group here and try and get vision towards this dragon. TXT, pretty good vision line in that bot side, as you see on your screen there on the bottom right in the mini-map. You can see all the wards littered throughout that river. This hero play going to be made towards the top side, so somebody will have to answer that. Is Dr. Kaiser going to call that one in? He's going to at least get the damage here and back on out of the turret range. And unfortunately, right now, there's really not a lot that Tran can do except to hopefully set up this gank for Little Toe. And let's see if they can knock this Garen down. He does have teleport, but he needs to wait until after that CC is committed. He won't be getting out of this one. Flashing forward just to try and get a little space. But all he's doing is buying time, because meanwhile on the bot side, this is going to be a get onto the brand. They want to knock him down before he can fully commit the ultimate. Does get it down to Empyrean, who goes into the stasis at the perfect time to make sure that he doesn't die. Does trade for the Kane, though. The Lysandra does eventually go down. Shafuse using the Dreadline to try and get to safety, but the Tran ultimate on the Kled enough to get him close enough to knock down. This Nautilus, so will be a 1-for-3 in the end of this bot side. And it might be getting even a little bit more because Mateo forced to flash underneath the mid lane turret. And now this Cloud Soul, this Cloud Dragon should just be going over to TXT, who have a massive man advantage and a great response by them. It's a good call. To follow up and to commit the teleport to answer for the dive that was going on in the bot lane. And Deathwish did a really, really good job of stalling out that fight and taking a lot of the health bars with him. And built himself a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Just to make sure that everyone was getting slowed just a little bit more. And I like that Oblivion Orb pickup as well. Recognizing that he wants to cut into the healing that Spammer's bringing to the table. Making sure that Kane has a harder time of sustaining in these team fights. It's a great itemization choice. Dr. Kaiser going to go ahead and get himself this top line turret, but he will be dying for it. But I think he's okay with this, honestly. I think he's kind of doing the solo queue Garen stuff, which is just being a nuisance, drawing multiple people up there to respond to him. Because you know that Garen, if he's left to his devices long enough, will just run away with the turrets. His Deathwish going to channel the teleport to try and stop this turret from going down, but it's a little too late. Not sure that was worth it, to be honest with you. I think that was a waste of a teleport. That turret was always going to go down. And probably should have shaved that and saved that for later on. You know, either to make a play across the map later on if they can make a play for Baron. Spammer. See how he fancies this fight. Doing a pretty good job of getting damage done. He has damage waiting. Or sorry, rather, he has help waiting in the wings. Tran wants to survive this. One more Q will get it, though. A Spammer, my God, healed up quite a bit in that fight. Empyrean is going to go into the state. This was to buy a little bit of time. Now Deathwish has to get out, doing a really good job of stacking it. And now Deathwish will have to deal with the Garen. Not going to be fast enough as he's going to use the, Tranner, Kaiser will use the ultimate to lock down the brand. Sorry, guys. I know this is not my best casting that I am. My voice is hoarse, and I'm trying to keep it engaged just enough to cast this. But you guys are absolutely worth it. You guys make it worth it to cast this. And speaking of casting this, we're going to cast General Twine trying to run for his life as Mateo throws out the Super Mega Death Rocket to potentially close out the deal on to the Melio, but was able to find that damage. And SYNCUniverse, even though they've been having to deal with Deathwish in these team fights, as my God, Spammer. Jesus Christ, dude. You can just stop anytime you want. Shafuse, he's going to even set up Spammer even further. It's hot and gay, trying to get away. Spammer flashes over the wall, so there will be no return kill here now. 5 strong for the side of Sync. They want to start to put in the damage into these structures. They're doing a really good job of shoving these waves. And potentially Ping's going down onto Baron. Little Toe's going to be dead for the next 20 seconds. Health bars aren't in the worst spot for the side of Sync. But they need to be wary of stuffing themselves into this Baron area because Deathwish can absolutely delete these health bars. And TXT, they're not going to let this go. They're walking forward. They want to see what they can set up. And SYNCUniverse, if you're going to do something, you need to make sure that you delete this brand right from the beginning. He's going to go into the zone, you Sync. What else can they do? They managed to get 1-2, but that brand ultimate does so much damage. Mateo on the backside going into a frenzy. Will at least knock down one. What else can he get? Wants to knock down the Caitlyn as well. Shelving out the damage. Little Toe arrives just in time to provide some support, but there won't be any further damage dealing. There won't be any further team fighting. Empyrean will be able to get to safety. And Sync, I think, very, very greedy on that call to try and go take that Baron, especially knowing that Deathwish was still up. And so good job by TXT to stop that play from happening. And that's a perfect example of just how dangerous this brand is. Really only has the one damaging item. You know, it's kind of just bargain bin shopping. Has the Zonias for safety to make sure that he can get off his ultimate. Has the Rylai's to slow, which is providing a little bit of additional AP. And then the Oblivion Orb just cut down on the heal, specifically from Spammer. But outside of that, he hasn't built really another heavy damage item. You know, doesn't have the Crit Bloom, doesn't have the Bloodletter's Curse, doesn't even have the Leanders yet. And so eventually, once he builds that second item, that second really heavy damage item is going to get worse for Sync. And I am a little disappointed that we don't see the Merc Treads from really every member here for the side of Sync. I think they would be doing them quite a bit of favors in terms of just passive blocking some of this magic damage that Deathwish is putting out. You know, and even though there's really not a lot of other CC sources that they're super worried about from the side of TXT. You know, they don't really have a lot of reliable CC. Does TXT to really kick off fights and to lock members down. The Merc Tread's just denying some of that magic damage would be so much better. And Ping's coming down in this mid lane here for the side of SYNCUniverse. They're very, very wary right now of stepping too close to TXT because they know what'll happen if they do. Little Toe, though, immediately gets half his health bar deleted. Oh, no, that's not what you wanted. Tran committed the engage and no further help behind it. And now it's going to be a 3-man root from the Lissandra ultimate. And now Mateo can start to put in the rockets. Hongay manages to slay the Lissandra, but what else can they get as he gets collected? And now it's going to be Dr. Kaiser knocking down Twine on the backside. It's 3 dead, sorry, for the side of TXT. Ping's coming down, and now SYNCUniverse, they're going to run towards that Baron. With Deathwish not being up, that's all the signal that they need to run and go collect that objective. The SYNCUniverse, man, just fight after fight after fight throughout this series. They have been phenomenal in finding their moments to engage. They're even going to get their third dragon off of that one as Little Toe tried to steal that one away, but it just wasn't able to do it. And so SYNCUniverse winning across the board right now. A little bit more than a 3K gold lead. 3 dragons to their names, so they're on drag point. They're going to grab Baron. They're going to have all the tools that they need to close out this game. And this is why we sing SYNCUniverse's praises. You know, yes, they do make mistakes. They aren't necessarily the cleanest team when it comes to, navigating around the map sometimes and closing out games cleanly from start to finish. They make mistakes, in trying to dive, places where they shouldn't, or skirmish where they shouldn't. Not always aware of their, their position in a game where they're strong and where they aren't. But, they're also just very, very skillful. They have a hands diff that a lot of other teams just haven't been able to answer right now. And even TXT, as good as they've looked, I think as impressive as any team has looked, they just haven't been able to outfight and out hands diff SYNCUniverse. And right now, TXT, they're going to start to stack the Baron powered minions in 3 different lanes. They got the 1-3-1 composition going up, and I think this really suits them because TXT, they really need to be 5 strong to answer what Sync wants to do. They really don't have a lot of options right now. They're just going to continue to get pushed out across this map. Imperial will stay on the bot side. He can join over to mid lane anytime he wants to. Dr. Kaiser will stay on that top side and just slowly push Tran forward as those mid lane waves will start to sync up. And both Imperium and Dr. Kaiser, they have teleport to get across the map if they need to, just a little bit faster. And Ping's coming down from the bot side. TXT, they've decided to choose one lane to focus on. And that lane right now potentially might be bot side, as Spammer is going to provide a little bit of cover for Imperium. They're going to get the lockdown on the Little Toe, who's already lost more than half his bar, is going to pop the ultimate to buy a little bit of health. And the Brand ultimate committed for not a whole lot, so that's a big team fighting tool already down for them. That Brand ultimate will come back short enough, but it's going to be a little while. And in the meantime, SYNCUniverse can continue to put the damage into these outer structures. They have Baron for about another minute. And Sync playing this, the start of the end game really, really cleanly right now. The TXT doing a decent job defending. They're not allowing too much damage to go into these structures. And they are keeping Sync spread out across the map, not allowing them necessarily to push too heavily. And so massive respect to TXT and at least staying strong that way. They're at least answering some of this pressure. But now they're going to have to start to answer towards this mid lane as they're going to have at least one more wave of minions come through. This could be Baron empowered. That bot wave not pushing yet. As Imperium elected to rotate towards that mid lane just to help push a little bit more. About 25 seconds left on this Baron in the SYNCUniverse. What else do they want to get with it? Looks like that's going to be about it. So no other structures will drop for the side of TXT. But it is the groundwork laid for SYNCUniverse. And with this pressure, they've gotten a lot of aggressive vision, so they can look to rotate that vision closer towards Dragon and set up for this next neutral objective. And as we highlighted earlier, even though that Cloud Soul is not necessarily the best soul to have in the game, it is just something you want to deny away from TXT if you can. And TXT do need to fight for this one, and this is their best opportunity to really get back in this game. If you can get a full 5-on-5, if you can get Death Wish, an opportunity to get a nice fat ultimate off with the Brand, you can really change the course of this game in a heartbeat. Because in games like this, it really only takes one good team fight to get back in it. Even as good as Sync are playing, there's opportunities for TXT to close this gap. And they're recognizing that they want to be first here at this neutral objective, so they're going to be aggressively trying to clear out whatever vision they can and try and catch somebody on rotation, because not all 5 are grouped up here. Spammer is going to get spotted out. Does he get baited into this fight? They will know that at least Emilio is hanging out, plus the Caitlyn, so at least 4 going to be spotted here. Garen in this top side, waiting to see where he wants to teleport. A nice little flanking ward towards that bot side river brush that he can make his way towards. And he's going to teleport now. Tran, again, what we highlighted earlier, commits the ultimate there on the Skarner, but there's no follow-up. Kyler's teleported, and now he can look to get engaged. Wants to get on top of the Caitlyn, doesn't manage to do so. Melio already gone from this fight. The Cat not able to stand up against the Jinx, who's throwing out the rockets. It's dead, done, and gone for the side of TTK. Deathwish puts out the damage. He gets one at least, but Mateo with the rockets will knock down the Brand. It's a triple kill for the Sync ADC. Cut the Quadra, and this might just be the end of the game. TXT, they're going to run towards the mid lane. It's 5 dead, and there's nothing that they can do. SYNCUniverse, we just said it only takes one play, one team fight, one moment to get it going, and that's exactly what we just saw there. And a phenomenal job from SYNCUniverse to close it out in commanding 2-0 fashion. This is why we sing their praises. This is why we call them the best in the division. And with a nice 2-0 lead, 2-0 win over TXT, they maintained control over first place in the division. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am with Spammer from the victorious SYNCUniverse Esports squad. A nice another 2-0 victory for you guys. You guys are still undefeated within the division. Y'all have sole control of first place. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we're feeling really great. I mean, it's really fun to play against them too. They're really strong. We do some screens against them like 2 day or 3 day ago. I don't remember really well, but they win against us, and now we take the victory. So we're really happy.
You brought that up. Let's get into it. So you just talked about losing in a scrim. What was it that you guys learned from that scrim that you think helped you in this series?
I mean, we realized that we have like a mess in the communication. So we really struggle with the communication when it's objective timer, and we try to fix that. And I think we fix it, and it's going really well right now to play objective and all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's talk about game number one. I think game number one obviously was a little bit sloppier for you guys, I think, than probably normally we're used to seeing from y'all. It also seemed like there was a little bit of miscommunication going on the bot lane. So kind of walk me through what was going through y'all's minds kind of in the early game struggles in game number one.
I mean, on the bot lane, I think we struggled because we have it was not a winning bot lane for us. Like we have some difficulty with it, and I don't remember what's happened, but we did like a play and they successfully come back, and that's helped us. Like when we realize Ash doesn't have like flash, and we try to play around it and take this Ash off the game.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Walk me through game number two, because I think a lot of people would feel like you were a very, very big part of the success in that game. I would definitely say that you were. You had a standout performance in the game. How worried were you as far as the team composition you saw TXT drafting game number two, and how worried were you guys about the brand?
The brand was like really difficult to play against, but the only thing we want on this draft is to like give Jinx reset it's the only objective. So it's the reason why we pick Kayn Lethality, because we want to destroy this Mundo and clear really fast. So Jinx can have reset, and after we can go on brand. But yeah, this brand was really solid. Yeah. So it was rough.
Something else that I wanted to ask you guys, I think it was in the second game. So you guys make this call to go to the Baron after you guys get a successful shove through the mid lane. And then obviously, the brand and company show up and they kind of win that team fight. They stop y'all from doing Baron. Why did y'all make the call to go to Baron that aggressively, given that, they did still have the brand up?
Because we think without like the Mundo Smite, we can do it easily. And like with my Lethality with Kayn, we thought we have some damage to like burst this Nash, but like we failed at it. So we just tried to have another play, but it failed. So yeah, we just give it the Nash and go to the other play.
Absolutely. Let's I'll ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. Let's talk about y'all's remaining strength of schedule. So the last team that you guys have to play, which would be the other team that is very close to you guys in the standing, Terminal Handlines. You guys have basically beat everybody else. Your last game will be against Terminal Handlines. How are y'all feeling about y'all's chances of closing out the regular season completely undefeated and going into playoffs?
I mean, this is like the objective we got. If we can go to the playoff without losing, it will be really, really fun. Like, it's sure we're going to have like some great memory with it. So yeah, it's the objective.
Yeah. How are you guys feeling about playoffs?
I think like we're a little bit excited because it's playoff, and I think we can like win. So yeah, so we're really excited about it, and we hope the other team will like give us some good games like today.
Yeah. You're kind of like Doublelift. I think the kind of energy I'm getting is Doublelift once had a quote that he was talking about Bjergsen and at TSM, I think he was talking about Clutch or something like that. But he had this quote. He's like, I didn't like that we lost the way that we were losing or that we were winning the way that we were winning in the regular season. He's like, I'm not saying that I want to lose. He's like, but I hope that someone, at least makes it interesting for us. So that's kind of the same energy I'm getting for you guys is y'all don't want to lose, but you would like somebody to at least, make it interesting.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Spammer, before I let you go, the floor is yours. If anybody that you want to give a shout out to, a team member, a family member, a fan, go ahead and take the floor. It's yours to do with what you want.
W bot lane because they stopped throwing every game. No, I'm joking. I'm the biggest in term fighting. Yeah. So just W my team. I love them. They're really like we're having some really good fun. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Spammer, thank you so much for taking the time to give us an interview. Really appreciate it. Congratulations to you and your team on winning yet another game, on advancing to 5-0, and we look forward to seeing you in the next week whenever you play your final match, and we definitely look forward to seeing you in the playoffs.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Bye-bye.